everyone, my name is Christine. I'm a designer at Itty Bitty Apps, and I'm here to talk about our iOS 16 UI kit, which we released a few months back. So tonight I'll just be going through what a UI kit is, why we decided to make an iOS kit, and what we implemented in this kit to improve overall usability. And at the end I want to do a tutorial on Figma on how to use the kit. So, I know I'm talking to a lot of developers here tonight, so I just want to clarify one thing. I didn't spell it wrong. I know there's a framework for developers called UI Kit that Apple provides, but today I'll be talking about a designer's UI kit. So what is a designer's UI kit? It's a collection of pre-designed UI elements used in a design tool. So it can be things like toolbars, nav bars, button, alerts, but it also includes things like typography styles and colors as well. So why do designers use UI kits? It helps us with two things. First thing being, it helps us speed up the design process. So just by having ready-to-use design elements, we don't need to create new ones, so it saves us a bunch of time. And the second thing is it helps us achieve consistency in our design. It's quite common for designs to become inconsistent because if you're making things from scratch or if you're bringing different components from different libraries, it gets all muddled up. So by just having a single source of truth, it helps designers stay the same throughout iterations. So there's a bunch of great things about using a design kit. So why did we create a iOS kit? Like majority of designers, oh, what happened? Oh, my computer shut down. But I think like majority of designers now, we use, at Itty Bitty, we use Figma as our primary design tool, but Apple only provides UI kits for Adobe XD and Sketch. So the iOS designer community was really in need for one in Figma, so we decided to fill that void. So this is our kit. It's receiving a lot of love with 24,000 downloads so far. I do have to preface that our kit was not the first UI kit on Figma. Others have made other kits before, but we always thought that we could improve on them just by adding a bit more detail and flexibility. So here are some of the stuff we did. So as you're probably aware, components can have a bunch of different variations, and if a component in a kit doesn't provide that exact variation you need, it can become quite difficult to edit or change it, and it's also a bit time consuming. So, and also a bit frustrating because in development, it can cause a whole lot of different problems as well. So what we did in our kit was we designed our components quite comprehensively so that all the variations can be just done through the properties editor. Another thing we tackled is icons. So when we're designing, we use a lot of SF symbols or just custom icons or even a mixture of both. So in our kit, we wanted to be able to switch between the two icons just through a toggle, again in the properties bar. Another thing we addressed is the different screen dimensions. I think Apple over the years have released 34 different iPhones, and all in different sizes, and the iPhone 14 itself has 3 different sizes. So components needs to be quite flexible and resizable so to support the different screen sizes. So in our kit, you can just adjust the components by manipulating the dimensions, and all the internal components should flow automatically. Additionally, we tackled the light and dark mode. So since iOS 13, the different supporting light and dark mode has been a critical consideration when designing a app. But creating these alternate screens has always been really time consuming. So what we've done is we've just introduced a dark mode toggle. So designers can change between the two and not really be bothered by the presentation mode it's in, but just be focused on designing the UI. Another thing we did was included iPadOS in our kit. So while there was quite an abundance of iOS kits on Figma, iPadOS kits were really hard to come by. So we included iPad components in our kit, so it became easier for designers to design on iPad while following Apple conventions. The last thing we did that I wanted to share is we considered accessibility in our kit. So I think, like a lot of designers, oh wow, let me close that. Yeah, so what we did in our kit was we documented the accessibility colors and dynamic text styles. We also put them in the Figma style, so designers can easily apply these into the components. So those are some of the things we did in our kit. I understand if you've never used Figma before, this can all be really confusing. So that's why I want to do a little tutorial now on how to use it. So let me just move to Figma. Okay, so today I'll be just recreating this folders screen. So this is a screenshot from my phone. And all you need to do is have our kit downloaded and then start designing. So let's first start from the top with the status bar. All you need to do is drag and drop that component into the frame. And then, so our currently our kit is supporting iOS 16, so that includes the dynamic floating island. But this is a screenshot from my phone, and my phone is only an iPhone 12. So we don't need the dynamic floating island, so let's turn that off. And I'm going to turn off that too, to make it prettier. Yeah, and all you need to do is change it from changing it to the iPhone 14 style size to any other size is to just move the component, and all the things should flow automatically. Next is the navigation bar. So I'm just going to drag and drop that one again in here. As you can see, it's looking quite different from what we need. So this is currently using the small title. So we can just go into the properties editor and change that into the large title and search. And we can drag that again to fit the size. It's looking a bit better, but we still need to do a few things. So starting from the top left, we don't need the icon or label. So let me turn that off. And then we're going to change that right label to edit. And then we're going to turn off that icon because we don't need it. Next, changing the title to folders. And all I'm doing is typing these texts in the properties editor on the right. So there we go. And then I'm just going to turn off the background and the separator as well. So next, I'm just going to move to the bottom of the screen and add in a toolbar. So again, dragging and dropping the components and aligning it to the bottom and moving the dimensions. Currently, this component is using the 5 tabs, so we're going to change that to 2 tabs. And I'll quickly turn off the background again too. And then I have these SF symbols prepared from earlier, so I'm just going to paste these into the component. So you can just paste it into here, and all the icons should change. Currently it's using the blue color because that's the default color, but we can change that just by changing the overall color, and you can just search up yellow. This is all included in the Figma styles, and it should change that back. Next, just adding the list. So I can drag drop this group table and add that in. Again, fixing the dimensions. So starting from the top again, currently this table is using a small title. So let's change that into a large title and turn off that label and change the title to iCloud. And then I'm going to also turn off the description because we don't need that for the screen. I'm also going to turn off some of these rows because we only need 3. So I'm just going to go in here and turn that off. The next thing I want to do is change these rows. So starting from the left and doing the icons, let's paste in this folders icon in here, and that should change that to the folder. And I'm just going to change this icon to yellow. There we go. Oop, wrong one. Oh, I'll go in and fix that later. We don't need that background fill, so I'm going to turn that off. But now, because of that, the icon's now showing, so I just want to change that back to yellow. There we go. All right. So next I want to change the title, so you can just do that here. iCloud. Oh, sorry, wrong section. We need to put it in the title, not the label. But the label is 94, so I'll change that. And then I'm going to turn off this icon because we don't need it. And all you need to do is repeat those steps in all the rows, and you can also just copy this again to repeat these other lists, and then you can have something like this. So this screen is made out from the components, and then this is another screenshot of the same screen but in dark mode. So I just want to show quickly how to change this into dark mode. I'm going to start by changing this color to dark. So once I change this into dark mode, you can see it, the colors pop. So all it is this toggle that you need to press, and it has it for all the components. If it's the same component, you can just group them together and change the toggle. And then you have a dark mode screen. So yeah, that's it. Are there any questions or?
So how do you know how each thing looks with large fonts or spacing, all of that? How do you discover all of these looks? How does it look with all this configuration? How do you discover that to build a system?
How do we discover how Apple does
Like
it?
what the spacing is between the label and the arrow, what the font size is when you select large? How do you discover all these things?
Yeah, so when making it, we referred to the files that Apple actually provided, but they only provide it for like the other design tools like Sketch. So basically what we did was copy the spacing of what they've made and put it into this kit in Figma. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Does the Apple Sketch template, does it have the same ability to toggle things on and off like our Figma one does?
No, it doesn't. So they only provide like a like one version of that component, and you can't toggle between it. They do have like a light and dark mode, but you just have to paste it in differently at each time. So yeah. Cool.
Yep, one more question. So a lot of work went into that. Well done. Is there going to be a macOS, tvOS, watchOS versions coming at any point in the future?
I have made a macOS version, but it was for the previous macOS. So if we have time, maybe we can work on that a little bit more and release one. But yeah, so far only the iOS is on the Figma community page. Yeah.
Any other questions? All right.
Yeah. Right.